The Iranian Embassy Siege occurred in 1980 when gunmen seized the Iranian Embassy in London. The Special Air Service conducted a daring raid, storming the building to rescue hostages. Over the course of the operation, named Operation Nimrod, the SAS successfully eliminated the hostage takers, rescued 19 hostages, and secured the embassy. The operation showcased the SAS's elite counter-terrorism capabilities and became a milestone in anti-terrorist operations. Motive. The siege took place against the backdrop of the Iran-Iraq War, a conflict that erupted in 1980 when Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, invaded Iran. The war was fueled by territorial disputes, historical animosities, and power struggles in the region. It quickly became one of the longest and bloodiest conflicts of the 20th century. Iran, led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, had a history of using hostage-taking as a political tool. The most notable example was the seizure of the US Embassy in Tehran in 1979, where 52 American diplomats were held hostage for 444 days. This event significantly strained Iran's relations with Western nations, particularly the United States. Internally, Iran was grappling with political and social upheavals. The 1979 Islamic Revolution, which led to the establishment of an Islamic Republic, had transformed the country. The new government, under the leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini, sought to export its revolutionary ideals and gain influence in the Muslim world. Saddam Hussein, fearing the spread of Iran's revolutionary fervour and seeking to gain strategic advantages, invaded Iran in September of 1980. This act of aggression marked the beginning of the Iran-Iraq War. As the war unfolded, it became a protracted and brutal conflict, with both sides resorting to various tactics, including the use of chemical weapons. In this context, the Iranian Embassy in London became a focal point for the Iranian government's diplomatic activities. The British government, led by Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, had strained relations with Iran due to its support for Iraq. Anti-Iranian sentiments were heightened, and the embassy became a symbolic target for those opposed to Iran's policies. The group responsible for the Iranian Embassy Siege was the Democratic Revolutionary Front for the Liberation of Arabistan, or the DRFLA, also known as the Arab Struggle Movement for the Liberation of Ahwaz. This group, advocating for the independence of the Khuzestan province in Iran, sought to draw attention to the Arab-Iranian tensions and the impact of the Iran-Iraq War. Khuzestan, with a significant Arab population, was the focal point of the DRFLA's demands. The group sought to highlight the grievances of the Ahwazi Arabs, who felt marginalised by the Iranian government. The DRFLA aimed to use the hostage situation as leverage to gain international support for the cause of Ahwazi Arab separatism. The timing of the siege was strategic. With the ongoing Iran-Iraq War, the hostage situation at the Iranian embassy drew global attention to the broader regional conflicts and the implications for international security. The siege became a symbol of the complex web of alliances and rivalries in the Middle East during that period. The siege begins. Day 1, April the 30th, 1980. At approximately 11:30 on Wednesday the 30th of April, the 6 heavily armed members of the DRFLA stormed the Iranian Embassy building on Prince's Gate, South Kensington. The gunmen quickly overpowered Police Constable Trevor Locke of the Metropolitan Police's Diplomatic Protection Group. Locke was carrying a concealed Smith & Wesson .38 caliber revolver, but was unable to draw it before he was overpowered, although he did manage to press the panic button on his radio. Locke was later frisked, but the gunmen conducting the search did not find the constable's weapon. The group, seeking independence for the Khuzestan province in Iran, quickly took 26 hostages, including embassy staff and visitors. The hostages were initially held in the ambassador's office, with the assailants demanding the release of Arab prisoners in Khuzestan and the publication of their manifesto. Day 2, 1st of May 1980. As negotiations between the hostage takers and authorities stalled, the situation escalated. The assailants, armed with firearms and grenades, became increasingly agitated. They released the body of a hostage killed during the takeover, Abbas Lavasani, as a gesture of goodwill. The British authorities, led by Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, engaged in diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis peacefully, but faced challenges due to the assailants' unclear demands and the complexities of the ongoing Iran-Iraq war. Day 3, May 2nd, 1980. The hostage takers issued a list of demands, including the release of 91 Arab prisoners in Khuzestan and the broadcast of their manifesto. The British government, determined to avoid a protracted siege, initiated negotiations with the assailants through intermediaries. Meanwhile, the SAS started planning for a potential rescue operation, recognising the gravity of the situation and the potential for loss of life if diplomatic efforts failed. Day 4, 3rd of May 1980. Negotiations reached an impasse as the British government refused to meet the demands of the hostage takers. The authorities were concerned that acquiescing to their demands would set a dangerous precedent. Inside the embassy, conditions deteriorated for the hostages, who were subjected to threats and violence. Meanwhile, the SAS continued preparations for a possible assault, refining intelligence on the building layout and the hostage takers' positions. Day 5, 4th of May 1980. With diplomatic efforts yielding no breakthrough and fearing for the safety of the hostages, the British government decided to move forward with the rescue operation. Operation Nimrod. The two SAS teams on scene, Red Team and Blue Team, were ordered to begin their simultaneous assaults under the codename Operation Nimrod at 19:23 local time. One group of 4 men from Red Team abseiled from the roof down the rear of the building, while another 4-man team lowered a stun grenade through the skylight. The detonation of the stun grenade was supposed to coincide with the abseiling teams detonating explosives to gain entry to the building through the second floor windows. During the descent, one of the abseilers became entangled in his rope. While trying to assist him, one of the other soldiers accidentally smashed a window with his foot. The noise of the breaking window alerted Owan, one of the assailants, who was on the first floor communicating with the police negotiators, and he went to investigate. The soldiers were unable to use explosives in case they injured their stranded comrade, but managed to smash their way in using sledgehammers. After the first soldier entered, a fire started and travelled up the curtains and out of the second floor window, severely burning the stranded soldier. A second wave of abseilers cut him free, and he fell to the balcony below before entering the embassy. Slightly behind Red Team, Blue Team detonated explosives on a first floor window, forcing Sim Harris, one of the hostages, who had just run into the room, to take cover. Much of the operation at the front of the embassy took place in full view of the assembled journalists and was broadcast on live television, and Harris's escape across the parapet of the first floor balcony was famously captured on video. As the soldiers emerged onto the first floor landing, Locke tackled Owan to prevent him attacking the SAS operatives. Owan, still armed, was subsequently shot dead by one of the soldiers. Meanwhile, further teams entered the embassy through the back door and cleared the ground floor and cellar. During the raid, the gunmen holding the male hostages opened fire on their captives, killing Ali Akbar Samazadeh and wounding 2 others. The SAS began evacuating hostages, taking them down the stairs towards the back door of the embassy. 2 of the terrorists were hiding among the hostages. One of them produced a hand grenade when he was identified. An SAS soldier, who was unable to shoot for concern of hitting a hostage or another soldier, pushed the grenade-wielding terrorist to the bottom of the stairs, where 2 other soldiers shot him dead. The raid lasted 17 minutes and involved 30 to 35 soldiers. The terrorists killed 1 hostage and seriously wounded 2 others during the raid, while the SAS killed all but one of the terrorists. The rescued hostages and the remaining terrorists, who were still concealed among them, were taken into the embassy's back garden and restrained on the ground while they are identified. The last terrorist was identified by Sim Harris and led away by the SAS. Aftermath. The aftermath of the Iranian Embassy Siege, which concluded with a dramatic SAS rescue mission named Operation Nimrod, left a lasting impact on diplomatic relations, counter-terrorism strategies, and public perception. The successful resolution of the crisis came at heavy cost, but demonstrated the United Kingdom's commitment to protecting its citizens and maintaining security. The Iranian Embassy Siege strained relations between the UK and Iran. While the British government had acted to protect the hostages and uphold its principles, the use of force on foreign soil without consultation with the Iranian government led to a breakdown in diplomatic ties. Iran condemned the operation, viewing it as a violation of its sovereignty. The embassy in London remained closed for several years, symbolising the lingering tensions between the two nations. Operation Nimrod showcased the capabilities of special forces, specifically the SAS, in responding to terrorist threats. The swift and precise rescue operation became a benchmark for future counter-terrorism efforts. Governments around the world took note of the SAS's methodologies and incorporated lessons learned from the Iranian Embassy Siege into their own strategies for responding to similar incidents. The event influenced the development of specialized units and prompted increased investment in counter-terrorism training and equipment. The successful resolution of the siege garnered public support for the SAS and law enforcement agencies involved. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's decisive leadership during the crisis contributed to her political standing. However, the death of Abbas Lavasani, one of the hostages, and the diplomatic fallout with Iran also sparked debates about the consequences of such operations. The incident raised questions about the balance between protecting citizens and preserving diplomatic relations. The Iranian Embassy Siege prompted a global re-evaluation of security protocols for diplomatic missions. Embassies and consulates worldwide enhanced their security measures to prevent similar incidents. This included improvements in building design, surveillance systems, and coordination with local law enforcement. The event served as a catalyst for strengthening international cooperation on counter-terrorism initiatives. The legacy of the Iranian Embassy Siege endured as a cautionary tale and a source of inspiration. While the successful resolution showcased the effectiveness of well-trained special forces, it also underscored the challenges and risks associated with such operations. The incident became a case study in military and law enforcement training, influencing doctrines on hostage rescue and counter-terrorism tactics. In conclusion, the aftermath of the Iranian Embassy Siege left a complex legacy. While the successful rescue operation elevated the standing of the SAS and underscored the importance of preparedness in responding to terrorism, it also triggered diplomatic repercussions and ignited debates about the appropriate use of force in protecting national interests. The lessons learned from this pivotal event continue to shape counter-terrorism strategies and international relations to this day. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give it a like. And for more amazing tales and thrilling stories, don't forget to subscribe to Uncovered Secrets. Also, hit the bell icon to stay notified for every release.